I am so glad you're here for another episode of Mechanism Monday, where every Monday we write out the electron-pushing arrow mechanisms for different organic reactions. In last week's video, I asked if you could solve the mechanism for this chemical transformation, so if you haven't had a chance, pause the video now and try it independently. And make sure you stick around to the end because I'll give you another mechanism to solve for next week's video. This reaction comes to us from Barry Trost and co-workers, published in 2005 in the Journal of American Chemical Society. You can check out the reference right here. And in this total synthesis of a phenolide P, they actually used what's known as the Bestmann reagent. It's the best, man. Anyway, so this is known as the Bestmann reagent, and we need to understand what happens first before we begin to attack our mechanism. So the first step is actually going to be a reaction between the Bestmann reagent and this sodium methoxide, which we can think of as just as a base. So if we consider this to be an ionic compound where the methoxide can act as a nucleophile, then what will actually end up happening is that nucleophile will come and do a nucleophilic acyl substitution. So this will kick up these pi electrons, and just like in most nucleophilic acyl substitution reactions, this will come back down after they go up to oxygen and kick off the leaving group. And in this case, that's going to be the right half of the Bestmann reagent. So this is actually going to generate a negative charge or a carbon ion at this carbon position. And this is typically how the Bestmann reagent is employed. So at this carbon position, we now have a lone pair of electrons that's negatively charged. We still have the rest of our molecule, which contains this nitrogen component here where there are two different nitrogen atoms, and this one is negatively charged and this one is positively charged, at least in this resonance structure. And then the rest of our molecule still looks the same, where you have this oxidized phosphine and it contains two methoxy groups on it as well. And here is where our Bestmann reagent typically is employed, where it acts as a carbon nucleophile, similar to what you've probably seen for Wittig reagents or even something like an organometallic reagent. Those are some of the common pathways to make carbon nucleophiles, and this gives us another handle with which to make a carbon nucleophile. So then, as often the case, nucleophiles react with electrophiles, and in our case, our reagent contains this electrophile or this electrophilic carbon at that carbonyl position as a part of our aldehyde. So that will be what happens, is that we'll get a nucleophilic attack at that position, which will kick up these pi electrons to oxygen. So then the product of that first transformation using our Bestmann reagent will still have this TBSO, which, by the way, this is just a protecting group for alcohols, which probably is later removed later in the step. And then here we have still our methyl group coming down at this position, indicated by the wedge location. And then we have our negatively charged oxygen, because remember we kicked up those pi electrons to this position. And here we have made our new carbon to carbon bond, and then the rest of our molecule still looks the same, where you have this phosphine oxide still located at this position. And then down here we still have these two nitrogen atoms. And even if you've never seen this type of reaction before, you can probably follow along if you have a good understanding of nucleophiles and electrophiles. I actually have a video here that you can check out, but what we're seeing is that we can have an interaction between the nucleophile and the electrophile. And in this case, our negatively charged oxygen will be the nucleophile, and our phosphine oxide is actually going to be the electrophile. So we'll have a coordination event where we'll form this four-membered ring by having an attack happen between these electrons on oxygen to the phosphine oxide. And in doing so, this is going to necessitate us kicking up these pi electrons to oxygen in order to conserve our charges. So then the product of that transformation will still have most of our molecules still look the same, where we have that TBSO group. We still have our methyl group coming down at this position. Here is where we get that four-membered ring, where now our oxygen is going to be attached to phosphorus. This oxygen has become negatively charged, and then the rest of our molecule will still look the same, where our phosphorus will still have those two methoxy groups still on them, and down here is where we can find our N2. And I call it N2 because hopefully you can see that typically anytime you see this, it's often the case that nitrogen will end up leaving as a leaving group. Just as a little pro tip for any time you see a nitrogen to nitrogen bond in a molecule. So what ends up happening next is just a retrocycloaddition. So what will happen is that these electrons will shift down to giving us an alkene or a carbon to carbon double bond between these two carbons. And this is going to make these two electrons come this way and give us a phosphorus oxide at this position. And that'll end up just leaving. So that will be the leaving group in this situation, and that means that gets us to our next intermediate. And that next intermediate is where we'll eventually have our nitrogen leave as a leaving group. So this contains most of the molecules still looking the same, so all of our precursor is still here. And then at this position, now we've generated that brand new carbon-to-carbon double bond, so I'll just draw it in as a carbon, and that contains a carbon-to-nitrogen double bond, so I'm just going to actually write this as N2, but you know that this is the structure. So what will happen next is that nitrogen will just leave, and what that's going to end up leaving behind is what's known as a vinylidene carbene. And a carbene is going to give us a carbon that's neutral, even though it contains a lone pair of electrons on it. So it's unique, and unless you've taken like an advanced class, like organometallics class, oftentimes we'll see carbenes that contain a lone pair of electrons on carbon, even though it's going to end up being neutral. And in this case, this is what's known as a vinylidene carbene. And then I'm drawing in this hydrogen bond so that you can see what happens next, because ultimately what ends up happening is that we'll end up getting a shift where we're both going to produce our alkyne, which we need in our final product, and also this hydrogen is going to shift over as well. So this hydrogen will shift over to being located here, and then these electrons will come down to give us our carbon-to-carbon triple bond, and that is actually how we generate our final product in this mechanism. So it's a lot of chemistry that maybe you've never seen before, even though I think that you probably could work it out if you use the fundamentals. So remember, first we're using the Bestmann reagent to generate a carbon nucleophile. This allows us to do a nucleophilic attack of an aldehyde, which is pretty common in organic chemistry. From here, we have a coordination event happening between our nucleophile and our electrophile to give us a four-membered ring, which can then do a retrocycloaddition reaction to give us a brand new carbon-to-carbon double bond. Following our leaving group, which in this case is a nitrogen gas, so in an open flask would just leave and Le Chatelier's principle would drive this reaction forward, this gives us our vinylidene carbene, which can do this rearrangement to give us our final alkyne. If you enjoyed this week's mechanism, give it a thumbs up down below. And for next week, I'd love to see if you could figure out the electron-pushing arrow mechanism for this organic reaction. Drop your thoughts as a comment down below, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you never miss out. I'll see you next week.